Majors have been the backbone of competitive Counter-Strike for as long as I can remember. They created a more mainstream tournament experience, as Valve directly sponsors these events with gigantic prize pools pushing their stakes higher than ever before. It would be safe to assume that most people who've played or watched Counter-Strike can recall many unforgettable moments from Majors.
He's gonna hit the ground there as Cole. Oh! What? A jumping double from Cole!
The insane clutches.
It could be really rough for Simple to actually get through this. He's gonna throw the AWP in. Oh my god! Simple, what is happening?
The crowd going wild.
Possible manifest in Rio de Janeiro! I can't believe!
And the casters screaming over impossible plays. But there once was a time when things weren't like that. When Majors weren't pulling millions of viewers, and when the esports side of Counter-Strike was still finding its footing. No one knew it back then, but a single major grand final in 2015 would change the entire scene forever. It's 2015 and the second major of the year is set to be hosted in the Lanxess Arena in Cologne. After a magical major the year prior in the same arena, competitive Counter-Strike is currently in what is going to be known as the golden era of professional CSGO. Counter-Strike is dominated by a Swedish team known as Fnatic, Counter-Strike's first ever super team. They were the defending major champions after winning the major in Katowice earlier that year. The team featured 5 superstar players: JW, a 20-year-old hyper-aggressive AWPer who was so talented at the time that the community thought he was cheating; Flusha, one of the most clutch lurkers the game had ever seen; Crims, the reliable rock who could hold multiple pushes alone; Olofmeister, the best player in the world in 2015, and Pronax, their in-game leader. This Fnatic team was so good at the time that many thought it was boring to watch them play, as they would simply just win everything they entered. But still, as they entered the major in Cologne that year, world number 2 was destined to meet them in the final: Team Envious, a French powerhouse filled with some of the greatest mechanical players of the time, featuring Happy, their clutch in-game leader, NBK, their rifler, Apex, their entry fracker, Kyoshima, and Kenny S, arguably the flashiest AWPer of the time, known for lightning fast flicks.
Kenny S stuck in the site, finding more. That's brilliant, and Kenny S again up close. Oh my goodness, Kenny S!
Both teams had championship caliber talent, and they would both cruise all the way to the finals. But something about this final was special. You see, the Lanxess Arena was the biggest arena a Counter-Strike tournament had ever been in before. The arena could house 11,000 roaring fans, and the arena would go on to be known as the Cathedral of Counter-Strike, one of Counter-Strike's most iconic venues, and the crowd was going totally bonkers. And as the match started, just the first round would turn out to be iconic.
He actually sees 2 people. Flusha, blind shot, takes down Apex, and now they're in the B bomb site. Flusha getting a chance to reload. Backup is already here. Kyoshima with a stunning shot to shot down Olofmeister. It's now a 4v4. JW still alive. Kenny gets a kill on Crims. Flusha in the back lines. He's out of ammo. A knife is out. What's happening? Flusha, he's getting stabbed. He goes down. Enrique, he drops Flusha. It's going to be a 2v2. No boss land, and there it is.
Both Flusha and MBK ran out of ammo, and the weirdest scuffle started in the corner of B. Like, there's 2 other people on the side, and there's just a knife fight going on in the corner. Like, what the fuck, guys? This is a major grand final. And the crowd just explodes like no crowd has ever done before. And it's so clear we have a legendary game on our hands. Envious takes a steady lead, and Kenny S hits one of the sickest shots of the time.
Wasn't taken down, does manage to get himself one, backs away. He's got the support of Flusha down long as well, but they're going to pressure him, and Kenny S of all people comes around with that Tech 9, manages to make it count. Now Flusha's well aware, and Kenny lands himself another.
But before we move on, I want to address something. Almost 30% of you boys have been viewing my videos for the past 5 months, and no one is subscribed. Come on guys, it really helps the channel so much, and it's free. So please, just go and click the button if you like the content. Thank you. But for some reason, Ego takes over Kenny S, as they're so far ahead. This play, in turn, loses them 2 rounds, and Envious win 2 rounds. But for some reason, Fnatic decides to force, buying 4 C sets, a gun which was totally overpowered back then.
Stomping Fnatic on Dust 2. It's going to be a bit of a refract there from JW, but Kenny to take down him right afterwards, and it's going to be Olofmeister taking out Kenny. Still a man advantage for Envy until They lose Apex. It's not looking good here. They're actually losing to this force-up from Fnatic.
Over on B site, Flusher must be all on his own, but Flusher manages to get himself one down. Now Happy getting tagged up. You can see the trace fire also coming through the smoke, and he's going to get taken down. Flusher will turn the round in his favor, and Fnatic from a force get themselves the round.
They win the round, giving them 2 free orbs, spelling disaster for Envious. But still, kiwishima hits one of the most insane mid-air headshots I've ever seen.
Smoke is up, he runs through his own Molotov into middle. Mid-air headshot on Crims, really turns a 180 and kiwishima.
And at halftime, it's 10-5, and Envious is looking visually nervous, as they know they should have been way longer ahead by now. The pistol round starts, and Fnatic rush short. Happy lets them all pass, and the rest is history.
They're all going to pass on by. They've all managed to go around. He's behind them. He's got to get the kill. He does manage to get himself one and a second, and that may be enough.
Or not really. They lose the pistol. But still, Envy chooses to force, and NBK, literally the worst rated player on the team right now, decides to turn up.
Gotta be careful here, Fnatic. He's got to get a chance to get at least a couple of shots off. You can duck down behind. There's the first. Second one. Pronax is down. MV kill. Still gunning for them. Can he get the kills? Apex shows up. It's a disaster for Fnatic. They're running into the French wall, and it's going to be all of Meister gone down.
They win the next round, but lose against Fnatic's full buy. If Envy loses this next round, they're dead broke. A great flash from kiwis gives Envy 2 free kills. And with 25 seconds left, Fnatic decides to rush B, and it all simply falls apart.
25 seconds, they're going to go for it. It's a 5v3. They pick it up and they run back down middle, but Apex sees it right now. Envy, they know everything.
This might not have been worth going into the B bomb site. They know they've been spotted 15 seconds on the board. What's the reaction for kiwishima?
Peekaboo is all it needs, and kiwishima gets himself the initial entry straight away. Olaf Meister and MBK from behind.
And Envious wins the next round easily. It's now 14-7. The game is basically over, and Fnatic calls a timeout.
But they are going to have to go on a tear to try and turn this around. MB just 1 round away.
The round starts, and kiwishima gets an opening kill. Apex gets taken out mid, and kiwis decides to rush up mid with an AWP, and somehow gets the kill. But Crims and JW has ran all the way over to B, and they catch kiwishima totally off guard. And they now have the B side locked down. And what happens next is arguably the most clutch spray transfer that Counter-Strike had seen up till that point.
Why would they slow down? There's the flash. That's going to catch Crims out. They're going to push on through. MBK gets one, but Crims with a spray down. He gets himself the triple, and Fnatic are not done yet.
This play might not look crazy with today's eyes, but back then, this spray transfer was totally insane. And this is where the impossible comeback starts to become possible. But Envy puts the match at 10-15, and the crowd knows that the map will go to Envy. But Fnatic starts biting back, and is now 13-15. Envy has one final buy before they will go into overtime, and it all falls apart. kiwis messes up one of the most free kills I've ever seen, and they simply just get overpowered after that. They narrowly lose the last round, which meant overtime.
On B site now, but they're not smoking because Flusher doesn't want to choose to throw it down. He's all the way over in tunnels, but it doesn't matter when they're landing shots like this. Apex is trying to stop them, but it's not going to happen. It will be overtime in the first map.
The crowd is totally shocked. Everybody thought this was Envious map, and then the Fnatic train is rolling. Envious lose the next 2 rounds, and then one of the most iconic Counter-Strike rounds is next, and I'll just let it speak for itself.
What was that, D-Man? A last nanosecond kill? And look at the guns.
Oh my
for AWPs.
Here we
Fnatic,
go.
they're ready to shoot some ducks as they cross the middle. It's going to be a challenge, and Apex, not in this lifetime. He is destroyed.
Fnatic goes on to win the map, and after that absolutely ridiculous comeback on Dust 2, Envy are mentally broken. Fnatic just stole their map in the most humiliating way possible, and now we're heading to Cobblestone, Fnatic's pick. Everybody knows just how scary they are on this map. Envy starts off strong, taking the pistol round, with Happy pushing like a lunatic, killing 2, and for a second it feels like maybe, just maybe, the French team can bounce back. They get ahead 3-0, but then Fnatic starts fighting back, and soon, the match is at 3-5 and both teams are fighting for their lives. But still, at the halftime, it's 9-6. They lose the pistol round in the round after, and the French card house simply collapses.
Just keep on training it through. They can't stop now. Olaf with the kill as well. It's going to be Kenny with the refract grenade on in. Happy's on 6 health. And ladies and gentlemen, it's going to require a miracle and nothing less for Happy to make it out. I don't think there's any chance. Flusher looking to end this. It's going to be a third.
And Fnatic was the first team to become back-to-back major champions. The best team in the world with 3 major wins. And as the confetti falls in the Lanxess arena, it's clear this wasn't just another win. This was the moment Fnatic became legends. It was truly a legendary series, and the raw VOD of the map has 11 million views on YouTube and is considered a cult classic in the scene. KennyS would in the next major get the win he so deserved, making him a legend of the game, whilst most of the players from this series would have great careers afterwards. This match introduced many to competitive Counter-Strike, and in the following years, the competitive scene would only become bigger and bigger, and this just might have never happened if these 10 gamers hadn't created one of the greatest major finals in the history of CSGO. If you like this video, you might like some of my documentaries about Simple, Kerrigan, or Cadian. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.